Hey everybody, it's John from Hacking Music. In this video, we're going to be talking about building your moat. This is episode 3 in the How to Build a Platform Under Your Music series. In the first episode, we talked about how to stage experiences and not just concerts. In the second episode, we talked about the 4 song archetypes that all songs fall within. These habits are much more powerful than just talent alone. These are the things that strengthen, support, and sell the great experiences you create. But before we go there, I would love for you to smash the like button below. We're releasing videos that are focused on strengthening the next generation of great, profitable, more creative artists. So by the end of this video, I want to put something in your hands. It's a powerful tool that we use at our companies and with our artists that developing artists can start using today. I want to make sure you understand what this habit looks like fully formed, what it is, and how it works for you and your team. Lastly, I want to make sure you understand how it benefits you and focuses all your efforts through your thinking, your strategy, and your execution. So with that, let's go to the training. All right, so let's go to the training. Let's talk about building your moat, episode 3, and how to build a platform under your music. I want you to think of this as a filter that everything you do moves through. All your thinking, your knowledge, all your strategy and vision, and all your execution and actions, all the stuff that you move forward goes through this filter. So it's a giant focusing mechanism, I guess. If you remember in your history class, back in the Middle Ages, kings, dragons, all that, during that time, there were castles, and there were moats, and there were marauders. So the castle had the thing that you wanted to protect, right, in it. It could be the things you've worked hard for, developed, the stuff you loved. It's the stuff that you wanted to make sure lived on. Because the marauders, dragons, wizards, whatever was out there in those days, wanted to get through your moat and get the castle and take all the stuff in your castle, right? So the moat was that thing that separated the marauders from your castle, right? It protected it, it fortified it, it made it harder for them to get inside the castle and steal your stuff and kill everybody, right? So this, even though it's a medieval metaphor, and obviously there aren't dragons, but you want to think of your career much like this. Your career is your castle. It's the stuff that you work on, you want to protect, you want to make sure moves forward and succeeds, grows, and scales, right? We say often that music is war. You want to expect it and you want to prepare for it, right? You don't want to avoid it and just be a squishy pink unicorn sitting on a stool singing songs. You actually want to build a business around your career and have a 10, 20-year career, right? So that's what we call magical thinking. The pink unicorn, that's kind of the magical thinking idea there. So you want to think of music as war and how to prepare for it, right? So if you study war, there are 2 kind of positions. One is a defensive position and one's an offensive position. The moat that we're talking about today, primarily it's about the defensive position. But what happens is after you build a moat, and you start to build a moat, then you're able to be on offense. You're able to take smart initiatives, some smart risks, and move forward with some things that otherwise you would not have been able to do had it not been for your moat. So yes, it's defensive primarily, but it allows for you to be on offense and go forward and do new stuff. So if you haven't downloaded it yet, you want to grab the PDF because that's a great way to understand this. It has the 4 questions we're going to talk about and a way to workshop it and work a worksheet around it. So beyond the defensive position and the offensive position, the huge benefit here is that it creates alignment across everything you do. It creates alignment across your priorities. It creates alignment across your team. It creates alignment around your current projects. It creates alignment across everything you do. So, what is it? So, it's a way to bring everything together and to do one thing. And that one thing is called maximize. Maximize is a way of making something better. Okay? It could be habits, it could be your priorities, it could be your goals, it could be your teams. It makes all that stuff better. Your music, your production, your tours, your shows, your songwriting, all that stuff gets with a moat gets better and better, just 2-3% better each time. So that's what it is. It's a tool for maximizing and protecting the stuff you love. So how to prepare for it. So first, let's define your castle. A castle is all the things that go into growing and scaling your career. It's the stuff you've worked hard on. It's the stuff you've developed. It's your gifts. It's your strengths. It's your weaknesses. It's everything, right? So to prepare for this, take your PDF and you can work through this as we talk about it here. PDF's great for starting off, but eventually you want to move to a permanent wall. There's a couple back here that we use, and you want to grab a stack of stickies. Stickies, if you've been around hacking music for any amount of time, these are the most powerful things that we use to move the world in the direction we want it to move into. So how do you prepare to build your moat? So let's define your castle. The castle is all the things that you've worked hard on developing to date. It's all the stuff that goes into growing and scaling a profitable, real career for you, right? So that's what we want to protect. It's your investment, it's your talent, it's your IP, it's your songs, it's your touring, it's your experiences and show, right? So before we do this, we want to answer 4 questions. Let's talk about those real quick. And these are great for pointing your thinking in the right direction here. Question number 1 is currently, what are your threats and weaknesses that you could see happening around the landscape? You could throw your strengths in there as well, but you want to list out, take 20 minutes. So question 1 is currently, what are the threats and weaknesses that could impact what you're doing? You want to take 20 minutes to 2 hours and at least hit 10 bullet points for these threats and weaknesses, right? You could throw your strengths in there as well. You probably already know what your strengths are, but that may be helpful as well. So question 1 is, what are your current threats and weaknesses? Question 2 is, who do you want to become? In 10 to 20 years, where do you want to be? This is kind of the dream vision board of where you want to arrive and how you define success for you in your career. You want to take 20 minutes to 2 hours and bullet point out at least 10 things that you want to become. You want to know your target, right? Question 3 is, where are your gaps? What are you currently lacking? Okay, take 20 minutes to 2 hours, map out those 10 bullet points, identifying what you think your current gaps are. Maybe you're vulnerable in e-com processes. Okay, maybe you don't have anything that works on your behalf automatically as a system, right? That's a vulnerability. Maybe your team, you're vulnerable in your team. Maybe you don't have anyone around you, right? Maybe you're vulnerable in what you measure. You don't have a way to measure things, whether it's sales, whether it's hitting your metrics, KPIs we talk about a lot. Maybe you don't have, maybe you're vulnerable in kind of your legal areas. You don't have any templated documents that help you kind of move fast and save money. You don't want to pay $1,500 for a basic template, right? Maybe you're vulnerable in your productization. Maybe you've bought into the lie that nobody buys anything and everything's free and woe is me and the artist and we hate Spotify, right? So that's a vulnerability around productization. Maybe you're vulnerable around your nutrition and fitness. Maybe as you do your shows, you just eat crappy stuff because it's easy, right? That's a vulnerability. You'll burn yourself out. Maybe you're vulnerable about burnout. I was working with somebody the other day who was talking about how they did, I think, 300 40 shows over 18 months, and they were just totally toasty. So they were very vulnerable to burnout. How do you go forward when you're toasty and roasty, right? So you want to think about where your gaps are and where you're vulnerable. Maybe you don't have a way to watch your show, or maybe you don't have a way to develop a show map. Though you're vulnerable in that way. Maybe you're wasting your time writing songs that you shouldn't be writing. So those are a few ways that you may be vulnerable, and your castle may be vulnerable to marauders. Question 4 is how to fortify your moat. In the medieval days, they would maybe dig it deeper, maybe make it wider. Maybe they'd put that burning oil cannon that threw things on people and burned them alive. Obviously, you're not going to burn people alive, but you get the idea of what we're doing. We're finding ways to protect the stuff that's important. Lastly, I want to talk about how it works. So if you haven't downloaded the PDF, go ahead and grab that now. It's a great way to start. I recommend doing your first one on the PDF graphic, but soon after that, I want you to grab a bunch of stickies and move to a permanent wall like these behind here. It could be a wall in your bathroom, it could be a closet, wherever you can leave something up and see it every couple days. That's what we want to be able to do. So here's what you do. I want you to come up with ways that you can strengthen your moat. All those gaps, all those threats, you eventually need to, now that you've identified them, you need to find ways to strengthen them and maximize them and plug those gaps in your moat, where you're weak and where you're vulnerable. This is something you want to leave up and come back to every couple of days. You want to see this often, because what happens is your subconscious starts to work on it while you're sleeping or while you're driving. It's called the Theta Stage. We talk about that in the Edison parts of hacking music. But the Theta Stage is a really powerful way to use your subconscious to solve problems for you. So if you see, you know what, we've really got a gap around legal. I don't know how to fix that. What happens over the next 3-4 weeks is your subconscious starts to think about that for you on your behalf while you're sleeping or while you're driving a bus. And it comes up with a solution for you. So this moat is something you don't get right in 30 days. You get it working in 30 days, but you want to leave this up and start to change things around, plug things, try different solutions. Think, you know what, now that I've thought about legal, it's really accounting that's a problem, or I don't have a way to really hit touring well. So that's what I have for you today. Those are the 4 questions you want to answer. What are your threats and weaknesses? Who do you want to become in 10 to 20 years? Where are your gaps? And how to fortify your moat. Take all the time you need to answer those and to build a moat around your castle in a way that really protects and extends what you're building. This has been Build Your Moat, episode 3, in how to build a platform under your music. These are the 10 habits that are way more powerful than just your talent. I know this is going to help you. I know it will strengthen what you do. Take all the time you need to work on this. We'll see you next time.